really this is, and kind of what is at the heart of intervention development and design is is kind of understanding the kind of the journey as such that we've been on in terms of the population health management program, the workshops, and also what occurred in the some of the warm-up meetings that we'd had as individual local care partnerships, understanding kind of where we currently are and what that means really in terms of identifying ways that we could do things better. Um, so that's essentially what this bit is, really going to understand hopefully the importance of context, and how important context is in terms of design and intervention, but also in terms of understanding the performance of any sort of intervention, understanding how important that context is. Um, and there'll be a particular specific lens put on multidisciplinary teamwork, and then there's going to be a little exercise on that. So, okay, so I just wanted to introduce this development map. Now, this is something that had been put together in a research paper um, by Catane, in 2019. So basically, this it was a systematic review that have brought together all of the intervention development models that are currently in publication, essentially brought them together and synthesized those common themes, those common factors, and essentially um, provided recommendations for us as people involved in kind of complex interventions, or kind of working across organizational boundaries in terms of intervention and service delivery, basically for us to be able to use in order to um, essentially develop an intervention in a particularly complex landscape. And the reason why I just wanted to kind of highlight this was just, as I say, to kind of consolidate some of the stuff that we've done already, really, and perhaps some of those boxes that we can tick. So so the kind of this development map, um, it doesn't specifically refer to 5Ps, but I've managed to squeeze it into 5Ps because that pleases me no end. So we've got a problem, we've got a partnership, people, previous, and plan. And these aren't kind of steps you tick one and move on to the next. There is a bit of an interplay between them, and you might revisit them at different stages. But obviously, there's the main importance of defining what the problem is, and that is the kind of the bedrock of this population health management approach, is using data to kind of inform that curiosity where we start, speak, yeah, to understand what that potential problem statement is, which we've done and that we're continuing to do. And then the next bit is partnership. So who are the relevant partners in our area? Who are the people that would be able to, people and organisations that would be able to contribute to any sort of intervention that we're going to be delivering? Who are those people? Let's engage with them, and let's make sure that if we are to design an intervention, that the right people around the table, either A, to design, or B, to actually deliver the intervention itself. And then the next P is people, and is basically having that commitment to work with people, not just in the delivery of the intervention, but also the design of the intervention. And we've had some brilliant presentations from Hannah and from Rachel in the last workshop, just around the importance, not just the importance, but the absolute value of involving people in terms of co-design. And again, when I mentioned before that there's a bit of an interplay really between some of these factors, engaging with people would absolutely contribute to the problem statement, which is at the top of the shop there. And then the next one is previous, and learning from what has been done before. There's different ways that we could approach this. You could look at the research. What is the evidence base for integrated services at community level for complex patients or for older people? What's the evidence for that kind of left shift blueprint about doing things in the community, that proactive work in the community? What is the evidence base around interventions? Or it could simply be the likes of George, who provided his reflections on the Seacroft population health management process. and just learning from those kind of context specific lessons really. And then ultimately this arrives at a plan. What are we using all of this knowledge, all of this context, what are we going to do about it? So next slide is really drilling down the importance of that context. And there's a lot of kind of continuing and emerging research around designing interventions and developing interventions, and obviously the kind of the rationale for those interventions may be really, really strong and robust, and evidence-based, but how that intervention is then delivered, not just how, but where and when that intervention is delivered, the context around that is massively key. And that's all the more present now with obviously kind of the tragic context of COVID-19 and how that changes the context of not only people but systems and communities. So understanding that context is really, really important. And I think one of the threads that we pick up quite strongly in terms of context for intervention design for this frailty program is multidisciplinary team working. So that multidisciplinary team working seems to be that it's that golden thread really between the NHS Age and Well plan, also the vanguards that inform that plan. So those vanguards are these kind of small, isolated pilot projects really that are doing something on a small scale, learn from it, and then extrapolate into and inform the Age and Well plan. The multidisciplinary team working was key within that. Also, it plays a key part throughout the Leeds Frailty Vision, which Dr. Chris Mills in our very first workshop had introduced kind of the background work around that Leeds Frailty Vision, and also it sits at the heart of the proactive frailty model, which we've introduced in previous workshops as well, and I'm just going to revisit that. We also know that the COVID crisis has instigated a flurry of MDT working among different cohorts. So some of the specifics that spring to mind are the wraparound support for care homes, and also the wraparound support in terms of partnership working and MDT working around shielded cohorts. And there's some brilliant examples of that, or as I say in the slide there, albeit anecdotal. So what we mean by context here for multidisciplinary team working is that we could have a kind of a well theorized model in terms of approach to the intervention, but an understanding of how the multidisciplinary team working within an area is kind of understand the current context around that is really, really important. And I just want to introduce reintroduce that proactive frailty model just to kind of visualize that this MDT way of working is at the heart of this proactive frailty model. So we can see on the far left hand side there about the proactive identification of cohorts via data analysis to the GP records, and then risk stratification into severe, moderate, and mild. And then in terms of the doing, the active bit, what are we going to do about it? At the heart of this is multidisciplinary team working. So what I want to do in terms of an exercise, because multidisciplinary team as a function is extremely important, we just want to shed a little bit of light on this, and for each individual LCP to look intrinsically at their own multidisciplinary team, their own kind of partnership, and kind of their own experiences of multidisciplinary team working in its different forms, and kind of understand whether it's working well, whether there's some gaps, and understand that context before any proposed intervention lands, because it's that MDT working is at the heart of it. So this is a group exercise that I just want to do for 15 minutes, and we're going to go into our breakout groups again. So we're going to do an MDT pre-mortem. So for anyone that hasn't done a pre-mortem before, it's essentially a bit of a forward view, a fast forward into the future, So the scene is that we're 24 months down the line, and we're evaluating population health management, multidisciplinary teamwork, and as a function in each of your individual LCPs. What that evaluation has found is that the function of multidisciplinary teamwork and for your population health management project hasn't worked as intended. It's not efficient and it's not effective. So using your kind of current understanding of multidisciplinary teamwork, and we just want to know, what are the potential reasons why effective MDT wouldn't work? What are fundamentally, what are those reasons? You might have a broad spectrum of reasons, or you might have a very kind of narrow focus, maybe 1, 2, or 3 reasons why it mightn't work. Because what we really want to do here is make sure that if we're designing an intervention, we need to make sure that the conditions around that intervention are optimal, really, in order for it to increase the chances of success. And this multidisciplinary team working is key for that. So process is just to nip back into your breakout rooms and just have a talk about multidisciplinary teamwork and engage in this kind of pre-mortem type exercise, forward view, 24 months down the line, and hasn't worked. Why hasn't it worked? What are the potential reasons? Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen if I can find the right. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Okay.
What time do we need to be back?
So 12 o'clock, if that's okay, guys.
Thank you.